Hello, we're in a fourth line day today. We are in gate 18, this gate of correction, and the fourth line is called the incompetent. When you get to the fourth line and you get to the upper trigram through its transpersonal quality, because this is a collective gate, you have a real opportunity to find the social allies that you need in order to have the strength to challenge. It's a great line, the incompetent. It can bring up a little bit of word prejudice, or it could also just make you laugh. Really, I have this line and I have it in the detriment. Hey, yeah, you laugh or cry your eyes out, really. Lifetime learning is difficulties as a result of inadequacies that cannot be resolved because of inadequacies. Isn't that fantastic? Difficulties as the first time I read that, I thought that's got to be a mistake. I'm sure there's a typo in there somewhere. Difficulties as a result of inadequacies that cannot be resolved because of inadequacies. That's quite a mantra. You can't fix it because you can't fix it. There is nothing you can do. What this generally means for people with the 18-4 is that they will have a specific thing that they want to correct. There are all kinds of other things that they are able to correct in their life, but there is one thing that they really want to correct and they can't because they're inadequate. The moment they meet someone who has gate 48, then they can get in touch with the well, and this can relieve their inadequacy. Lucky for me, Bear has gate 48. Lucky for everyone, huh? Gate 48 carries the fear of inadequacy, ironically. This is the next step in the stream of taste. It's also the next step in the wheel. It's where we go to in a few days' time. Every stream has 4 steps. And we start with the fuel, then we go to the potential, the possibility, and the expression. That's how a stream works. And it always goes through an awareness center. So it's going through here, of course, the splenic center. So gate 18 is the potential of this awareness. The potential that this one thing that they cannot correct because of their inadequacy can come into contact with the necessary depth and become a possibility. All lines can ultimately be the exact mirrors of what they say. This is the duality in practice. So the exaltation says, given this negative position, survival through suffering, the inability to correct and its potential for suffering. Here we have this transpersonal line, and it's a very difficult fourth line. The thing that makes it difficult, being the very basic nature of what a fourth line is, the opportunist, is that it's there waiting for the right opportunity to be able to externalize, and it's also an abdicator. And the abdicator fails, but only fails when the majority says that it fails. So the externalizer of a correction fails when they don't get enough support. And if they don't get enough in the collective, enough people who are going to agree with them that this thing does need correcting and they're going to help them because they can't do it on their own or it's not possible for it to be done, and they truly suffer. They see something that needs to be corrected, but they're powerless themselves. If they're an 18 without the 58, powerless to do anything unless that energy comes into their aura. And so in that powerlessness is their suffering. So the incompetency, yeah, said it right. It didn't sound right for a second there. When you write a word and you write it so many times that it just doesn't make sense anymore, and you just look at it and you think, I don't know, that's not right. And you put it through the spell check and it's like, yes, it is right. Anyway, sorry. See, I'm being incompetent here. Anyway, the incompetency, it doesn't, it's not, incompetency comes because they cannot do it alone. I need someone else's mouth at the moment, I think. And this is the magic of correction. If everybody who carried the 18th gate could really get this, they would understand that correction is about a collective process, a collective need for correction that can be satisfied. It can be satisfied. And yes, one person can be the source of that insight into what correction is really necessary. But it takes the collective to bring that about. You can't do it on your own. The secret here is being able to meet the right energy to get to the point of manifestation. And yet you're only able to do that as yourself with your particular gift of the collective when you live out your own nature. It doesn't mean you won't suffer, but you're surely not going to suffer as much as if you were operating out of that random chaos of the homogenized world, trying to correct everything, trying to fix everything. Yeah. You will suffer without the other. And even with the other, it may be exceedingly difficult to get your correction across. The resources for anything collective have to be vast. So it's built into the collective process to suffer from not getting your chance to impact the collective. All you can do is continue your process as yourself and wait. The detriment: indecision and anxiety and no escape from misfortune. The demands of correction and its potential to generate anxiety. I love it. You look at lines like this and you think, thanks. Excellent. So what happens here is, you can see something that needs to be corrected and nobody does anything about it. And it drives you mad. The 18th gate, they stay stable when the suffering is collective in nature. Let's share the suffering. Why not? You can suffer, but the correction cannot be in the collective and help all those people, but not suffering because you couldn't get it done, if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. I hope that makes sense externally. As I externalize this fourth line, it's a projector channel. And as a projector channel, as it's tight, it has to be recognized. And in this case, it has to be recognized by the collective. So these are people who are saying, I just can't make it better. I can't. And they really suffer. Can't fix it. I can't correct it. I can't come up with a solution to this problem. I can't do anything about it. And you can imagine somebody who has also got guilt motivation. They can see what needs fixing. It's their motivation to get out there and do it. They slip into transference and just start going, but I hope it's all going to be okay. And you close your eyes and you just hope for the best. And, and you look at everything else that is going on in the design. It's just so fascinating how it can all work together and what the experience can actually be. I have both of those. I have guilt motivation and I have this detriment in the 18-4. So there's a constant anxiety that can come from having this one thing that you can't correct. And when you see this line, it's a lesson that I learned when I saw it. It's be careful when you look at it, because it doesn't mean that there's an incompetence about everything. That's not true. Not true at all. So often people see this line and it means that they are, excuse me, that they are incompetent to correct the general process. And that's not the case. It's just this one thing. And everything about the fourth line is being very fixed. You have to ask them, what is this one thing that you want to fix that you can't? And see if you can isolate that one thing from the rest. Work with all of this. The inability to correct and its potential for suffering, or the demands of correction and its potential to generate anxiety. One can become very anxious if there is one thing that it cannot fix. This is the difficulty of the fourth line. One also can learn that there are some things that are never going to be fixed. And if you are focused and fixed on the thing that can't be fixed, no matter what you do, it's going to lead to madness. It's going to lead to suffering. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. That fourth line, very fixed. You can see it. It can see it. It doesn't care somehow that it's never going to be fixed, because it's just there going. But it doesn't really do that because it's not a mouse. But you know what I mean? It has that sense of like it's a hook. It's got you. It's the one thing, and you can't not see it. You can't not see it. Anyway, madness, as you can tell, total and utter madness. The grounding for the 18-4 is the 17-4, and it's called the personnel manager. Perhaps the influence of the personnel manager can bring some comfort to the incompetent 18th gate. It may be able to help them just hone down their focus a little bit so they can see that the thing they need to correct is, just see what the shape of it is. It may help them see that they don't have to be anxious about everything. And it might also help them find allies who can support them in their process of correction. Mercury goes into gate 44 this morning. 9:53. This is another splenic gate. Mercury has been working its way through the splenic gates. And this is a fear of the past. This is the fear out of the 44. It's the fear of the past catching up with you, or something in your past affecting you now. And maybe that's something that you could listen out for. Is this something that people are discussing, or is it something that suddenly comes into your mind, something that you did in your misspent youth? I'm not going there. It could take some days. Are these the things that are affecting your life now? Or are they stopping you from doing something in your life now that is potentially detrimental, that you actually ought to be able to move on and past that? This is the 44. It's pointing up to gate 26 in the ego center. So it has that potential for great power when it comes through. It's part of the channel of the transmitter. The moon is still in gate 29, the sacral gate of saying yes, of committing to life, together with the weight that comes with that. Gate 29 leads us into gate 59 at 10:56, the gate of sexuality, the gate of dispersion. This is the sacral gate that gives us our strategies for bonding, for creating union, ultimately for the creation of something new, whether that's a new life or a new project. Ra said so often, he said that the only thing that really matters when it comes to relationships with the other, whatever other that is how you enter into that relationship. And there's probably no gate where this is more important. We have to enter into union with the other correctly in order for the outcome, the fruit of that union, to also be correct. And then when we've committed and we've bonded and we've created, we move into gate 40. That's at 22:13, and this is the gate of aloneness, where we can recuperate from whatever it is we were creating. But it's also the gate of work, and loving work. And it's working hard to deliver the goods to the community, to the tribe, to maintain whatever it is that we've just created through our correct union. This is an ego gate. It will work hard, but it needs to rest. It needs to be recognized for its hard work. That's the bargain that it's going to make. I am going to work really hard for you, and in return, I need you to leave me the fuck alone. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, it's like my scarf. Bear brought me this. Really pretty. Yeah. Yes, tomorrow we'll have another line. I will see you for that one. I will bring my wits, and we will have a fifth line called therapy. I'll see if I can go into that before we get there. Go gently. Bye bye.